think I need more MDMA for this. Salut. Welcome to Paris. A day before the opening day of the Olympics. And I just caught a 7 a.m. flight over here. Kind of tired. Je suis un peu crevé. Let's go get a coffee. I've tried to do the most stereotypical French thing possible and sit at a corner cafe. Voilà. Merci. Now, one of the most common stereotypes about the French, that the Americans, the British, I think the whole world has, is they're kind of rude. And if you speak French to them, they won't speak it back. Let's find out if that's true.
Vous voulez le reçu?
Non.
C'est bon?
Ça bon. J'ai une question.
Oui.
Les Américains, ils pensent qu'ils s'ils viennent à France, les Français parlent pas le français avec eux. C'est vrai?
Ben non.
Mais non, non. On parle français maintenant.
On parle français, on parle américain, on parle franglish.
Vous parlez de l'américain?
On parle franc-américain.
Parfait.
Un mixte. On fait un mixte.
There you go.
Non, non.
You can speak whatever you want.
La jeunesse parle très très bien anglais, américain.
Oh wow.
Mais un petit peu vieille. Pas trop. Les taux.
Ça va, ça va.
Merci.
Doing good, thanks.
Bonne journée et bon séjour en France.
I was talking to this guy across the restaurant. He's a music producer. He lived in New York. What's your name?
Gigi.
Gigi.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
And welcome to France.
Oh, merci. Thank you.
Have a good
Have
time.
a good one. Yes, later. All right. It's a nice positive start to our trip in France. Gigi was telling me that like 90% of the people walking around now are tourists, of which I am a part of. Maybe we can get some bread too while we're at it. Let's see what's going on in here. Un croissant. Oh, this is probably the best thing in France. That's a really tasty croissant right there. Paris, as we all know it, was actually constructed mostly in the 1800s. Napoleon III, the nephew of the more famous Napoleon, he hired a guy called Haussmann to redesign the whole city. The French were like, hey, Paris, it smells like shit, it's full of shit, let's fix it. And so they designed a kind of uniform style for the whole city, which became known as the Haussmann model. Those buildings right there, the buildings we all associate with Paris. Ironically, at the time, everybody hated it. C'est quoi ça, une fleur? C'est pour qui? Oh. Pour la dame. Oh, ok. Bonne chance. The other thing they were telling me at the cafe is apparently the Seine, the main river that goes through Paris, basically defines Paris if you think about it, it's closed off to tourism at the moment. It's closed off to everybody, unless you live there or something, or you work there. About to go find out. Already starting to see a lot of police trucks, police vans. C'est pas possible d'entrer ici? De l'autre côté. De l'autre côté, okay. Big police checkpoint right here. Running into a lot of barricades here in Paris. Bonjour. C'est possible d'aller à Notre-Dame?
Faut s'adresser aux collègues là.
As you can see right over there, you have the famous Notre Dame that was tragically messed up in a fire a few years ago. Right now I'm not even sure if I can go see it. There's some kind of checkpoint here. I think they're checking to see if like your hotel is located within this area.
Pas de QR code.
Non, ça prend 2, 3, 5 jours. Voire plus.
2, 3, 5 jours.
Ouais, c'est pour ça.
Ah merde.
Et si vous voulez accéder derrière, là,
C'est impossible.
derrière, vous pouvez, par le pont de Sully.
It's a bit of a strange sight because this would normally be like one of the most touristed locations in Paris. Right over that railing is the Seine. And again, yeah, I think you need like a QR code to show that you work there, or live there, or you applied in advance. It's like COVID all over again. I think he's explaining exactly the same thing that I just was. It's a bit of a police state here at the moment. A polite police state at the very least, but I'm really confused about where I'm allowed to walk right now. But anyway, I was able to get a little bit closer to the Notre Dame here. The Notre Dame, one of the world's most famous monuments, most famous buildings, tragically in 2019 suffered a huge fire, burned down, famous spire in the middle of it. But a lot of it has been restored. If you're ever wondering how it's doing nowadays, there you go. To be honest with you, there's still plenty of French people here. Maybe they're from like other parts of France. After all, French people could be tourists too. In better times, we would have been able to like walk right down those stairs, have a little picnic. That's what I did like 13 years ago. Came here on a study abroad. Ça va durer combien de temps? I believe the stated reason for all that is because the opening ceremony of the Olympics is going to happen on the Seine, on that river. Not sure how that works, but I guess they're trying to take precautions. After all, France has had a few problems with terrorists. It's a bit of a weird situation though. You feel bad for the tourists almost. I'm sure they came here for the Olympics, but they wanted to see the famous sights of Paris on the side. And probably most people come here and not gonna be able to do that. Let's go get a crepe.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Vous avez juste des crêpes sucrées ou des salées?
Il y a tous les mêmes. Il y a un crêpe sucré aussi, mais...
Vous voulez quel genre de crêpe?
Ok.
Bon, ouais.
Pour moi, le parisien.
Une parisienne?
Oui.
Sur place?
Ah non, j'avais l'importé. Oui. All right, there you go. Just paid €8 for a crepe. Hope it's not crap. Ah. Definitely not. That's pretty good. But very hot. Ow. Hey, quick interruption from somewhere that is not Paris. When you travel abroad, when you go to another country, you need Wi-Fi. Trust me, I know this very, very well. You don't want to be without it. To get Wi-Fi, you need a SIM card. Getting a SIM card the traditional way, at the airport, or even worse, trying to find a telecommunications office in the city, it's a hassle. You don't want to deal with that. Thankfully, now, in 2024, we have a better option. You can get an eSIM. And Holofly, the sponsor of today's video, can help you with that. Holofly has coverage in more than 200 destinations. And it has unlimited data in more than 150 of them. It's super easy to set up. It'll be sent straight to your email. And all you have to do is scan a QR code and then you can connect to the internet. Prices are only up to $1 a day. This is way better than roaming. Data packages range from 5 days to 90 days with unlimited data.
And there's already the possibility in certain countries like the UK, China, and Switzerland for you to customize the number of days that you get. If you run out of data, no worries. You can recharge the eSIM after the data plan expires. Unsurprisingly, I use Holofly a lot with all the traveling that I do, and I highly recommend it. If you want more info, go to esim.holofly.com. And you can get a 5% discount off of any of their Wi-Fi packages by using my code Sabbatical. Let's see if we can cross the river using the Metropolitan, the metro. France, out of all the subways in Europe, has the one that's probably closest to New York City, which is not a compliment, but it's still a bit better. So each ride on the metro is €4. That's a bit pricey. You get one of these things called a Navigo card. All right, now we're ready to go. In many stations in Paris, if you can't afford the €5 fee to get in, you could just jump the turnstile. You will see that at least a few times while you're here in Paris.
Assurez-vous de ne rien oublier à bord. Please make sure to collect all your belongings. Por favor, no olvide recoger su equipaje.
Do gotta admit though, it's pretty cool that France puts actual statues and artifacts in their metro stations. Like, that's pretty awesome. I mean, I don't know how they came into possession of these artifacts. That's a different story, but. In the metro. Okay, so here on the north bank of the Seine lies maybe the most famous tourist attraction in the entire world, the Louvre Museum. That thing with the famous glass pyramid, you know, it's got the Mona Lisa inside, along with a billion other artworks that people kind of just walk right by. Le Louvre, c'est pour 700. Museum? Oui. Musée, it's closed. Pourquoi? Pour les Jeux Olympiques? Bah, parce que là, je sais pas pourquoi. Ouais, non, c'est juste qu'il est fermé. I feel like as the day goes on, the police are getting a little less polite. Why is the Louvre closed? Because it's closed. Man, there are a lot of police officers everywhere. According to what I read, France, in preparation for the Olympics, has deployed more than 75,000 police officers. Some, I think, are military, special police. It's one of the biggest deployments of police in history. Even got a police tow truck right there. Just over there, over those trees, behind all these police vehicles, you can see the top of the Eiffel Tower popping out. Now, the Eiffel Tower is probably my least favorite place in France, but I'm kind of curious to see how it is at the moment.
Beware of pickpockets. Please look after your bag, mobile phone, and valuables at all times.
Got some freshly stolen bikes right here. I think. What exactly happened right here? Something was definitely stolen, but it's like they took the wheels and then just went off. Maybe they built a unicycle. Man, what a little beautiful side street. Imagine living in one of these apartments. Just don't leave your bike downstairs. This is the Ethiopian embassy right here. and they have a list of all the Ethiopian athletes that have won a medal. Let me guess, every single one is for running. Runner, 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 run. All runners. They even put a question mark for 2024, like, don't test us. We're obviously gonna win the marathon again. So this would normally lead on to the Saint-Denis, which gives you like a view of the Eiffel Tower, somewhere that way, but it's been closed off for some reason. And you just have this big wooden wall. The Great Wall of the Eiffel Tower. Pardon, ce jeu, ça s'appelle quoi?
La pétanque.
La pétanque? Ah, pétanque, ok. Comment ça se joue?
On fait ici 13 points.
Okay.
On fait 2 ou 4.
Regarde, ça va, je joue avec lui.
Ok.
Lui, il lance.
Oui.
Moi, je dois lancer pour que ma boule soit le plus près.
Ok.
Après, pour que lui gagne le point, il faut que lui, il touche.
Je vais chercher.
Oh,
je vais
il
le
faut,
faire
il
comme
faut
ça.
toucher.
Voilà, voilà.
Ah, comme ça.
Je tire, hop,
Ok.
la boule elle part et moi je gagne le point.
Ah.
Au soir,
Je comprends plus ou moins. ouais.
Voilà.
Ok. On n'a pas ce jeu aux États-Unis. C'est la première fois que je l'ai vu.
En France, pendant la guerre, ils ont interdit parce que les bonhommes ils perdaient trop de temps avec les pétanques.
Ah, ok.
La guerre, elle a dit interdit de jouer au pétanque.
Ah oui?
Parce que si vous jouez avec les pétanques, vous avez une amende.
Il fallait...
aller à la guerre.
Pendant la guerre, interdit des bonhommes.
C'est pour ça qu'ils ont perdu.
Interdit.
C'est pour ça qu'ils ont perdu la guerre, parce qu'ils jouent trop à la pétanque. Ils volaient les boules pour mettre dans le canon, ils n'avaient plus de munitions.
Ah, c'est pour ça, ok. Merci pour l'explication. Bonne journée. They lost the war because of pétanque. Ce sont les athlètes là. Apparently, the Brazilian volleyball team is practicing behind this wall. Unfortunately, it's not the female Brazilian volleyball team, you know what I mean? So according to some article I read, this whole area has actually been closed off since January. They are shutting it down in preparation for the Olympics and also to clean up the area and make it a nicer place. This used to be this massive area. Sit down, have a picnic if you wanted. Somehow it was like a little bit sketchy at the same time. There are always these people who may or may not come from Romania who would try to scam you out of your money. They'd have like fake games set up. You'd make a bet and then they just run off with the money. One time somebody threw a baby at my friend, expected them to pay for it. It was just a bunch of African dudes selling like Eiffel Tower trinkets, souvenir stuff. And then a police car rode by and they all scattered. Vous êtes sénégalais? Non. Non? D'où? J'ai voyagé beaucoup en Afrique.
Ah ouais? Oh.
Moi, je suis malien. Malien? Ah, ok. Moi, plutôt au pays anglophone. Apparently, the Eiffel Tower itself is still open. You can buy a ticket and go up it. I still haven't done that, and I'm not really interested either. This is like French life basics right here, but if you're at a French restaurant and you want some water, just ask for a carafe. Carafe d'eau. They'll understand you if you say it in English too, probably. Just like that, you get this bottle. That's called a carafe. Completely free. Americans may be like, oh, what's the big deal about that? But there are some European countries where you gotta buy the water in the restaurant, which I think is a human rights violation. I usually just get like a big steak in France. The difference is they have like these really good sauces that go with it. It's called a béarnaise sauce. Then you get some French fries. Excellent French meal. If you're trying to get like a rare steak, the way to say it is you want a blue steak. Bleu. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's how it is. All right, so that was a little over 30 euros, but pretty good. We can splurge a little bit once in a while, you know? All right, so typically in Paris, especially in the summer, it is usually a massive pain in the ass to get accommodation. It's either really overpriced, very expensive, or there's some kind of problem with it. The apartment sucks, it's in a bad neighborhood, it's very far from the places you want to go. But during the Olympics, nobody wants to come to Paris. So I was able to get a nice little Airbnb in a great neighborhood. And let me show you real quick. What's up? Yeah, we got like this kind of old-timey elevator. I like stuff like this. Voila. And we only got to go up 2 floors, but doing this for the novelty. It's basically saying, don't put furniture in the elevator, which makes sense. Do you see the size of that elevator? Who would put a couch in there? I don't know, some crazy French person. All right, so yeah, for about $100 a night, you get all this. Got a kitchen, pretty fully stocked kitchen, got a washing machine, got a really cool little view out onto the Latin Quarter, got a pencil case that looks like a gun. Ooh, that's not a good look over here in Paris. Even get a little wine bottle. Le Grand Moulin. Ooh. And 2 wine glasses. Ooh la la. So yeah, not too many complaints about this trip to Paris so far. It is somehow simultaneously the worst and also the best time to be here, if getting cheap, well-located accommodation matters to you. Tomorrow, we will explore a bit more of the city. We will go to la Stade de France. Unfortunately, la Stade de France is located in the most notorious area of Paris, Saint-Denis. It's like going to the Bronx. But we're gonna do it. We don't back down from challenges on this channel. See you tomorrow. Okay. Woke up still feeling a bit tired. There were like sirens throughout the night and in the morning. What is going on with the police here? Today is the day of the opening ceremony, so I guess they're on edge about that. Alright, just came out of the Gare du Nord. That's the station you take if you want to take a train to, say, the Netherlands, Belgium, even got trains to London. They say that this is not a great neighborhood to walk around in at night. By New York standards, I don't know about that, but there you go. You might have to watch your pockets if your train arrives after like 5 p.m. Is that a hospital up there? How epic of an entrance to a hospital is that? That's pretty cool. And that's the wild thing about France. Literally, even in the worst neighborhoods of the city, you'll still find nice infrastructure, nice public housing, parks, stuff like that. That's why I kind of feel like if you're in a European country and you commit crime, that's the dumbest shit ever. You're literally living in the most generous welfare states in the entire world. That's a lot of suits showing up all at once. French guy go by on a bicycle, say, there go the fascists. Excusez-moi, ce train ici, ça va à la Stade de France?
Stade de France, yes. Prochain, dans 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Thanks. You get into a lot of half French, half English conversations here. All right. La Plaine Stade de France. The biggest stadium in France. So this area here is the district of Saint-Denis. And technically, it's not in Paris. It's the suburbs. But in France, the suburbs kind of have a very different connotation than they do in the US. In France, the suburbs are basically the hood. All right, so apparently this is where they'll be doing track and field, the athletics competitions, and also rugby. People out here having a party. So this time, they've set up the perimeter to the stadium almost like a fortress. So if I start walking over here, it's almost like they're telling you, you're on your own now. C'est quoi le drapeau?
La Courneuve is the city, the neighbors.
Oh, ok, Courneuve.
Pourquoi je parle en anglais? Vous avez compris?
J'ai compris.
C'est la ville d'à côté.
Wait, does that mean that those middle-aged ladies are beefing with Saint-Denis? If they're from Courneuve, a different neighborhood? Putting a flag right there. Let's see, for sale signs in the window over there. Would you like to move to Saint-Denis? I'm sure the rent is a lot cheaper. I don't know how that guy got in the model over there. Qu'est-ce qui se passe ici?
Elle est là, ils sont pas.
Ah, ok. Il parle?
Jour et nuit, elle est là, tout le temps.
Voilà. Like an art project or something. I don't get it. Why are the basketball nets so high? I know the French have like the tallest player in the NBA right now, but still. Et vous savez pourquoi les paniers sont tellement hauts?
Comment?
Les paniers de basketball. C'est impossible d'arriver là. All right, starting to rain. Getting hungry.
La sauce, s'il vous plaît.
Ketchup.
Ketchup, mayo, barbecue, harissa, samouraï, blanche, maggi, poivre, andalous, moutarde, curry, cheesy chili fish.
Ok. C'est ton préféré, quoi?
Ah, madame, à côté, juste à côté.
Maillage.
Oui. Tu peux choisir.
Salade tomate oignon.
Ah oui.
Sur place? D'accord. Ça sera tout.
Ah, c'est tout.
D'accord. 7,50.
Well, I told her to pick the sauce, and that's what I ended up with. Of course, mayonnaise. Not bad though. Je suis un touriste, j'ai une question. Ça fait combien de temps que vous habitez ici?
Plus de 26 ans.
26 ans.
Je savais qu'il arriverait ça, les problèmes entre les habitants, avec les gens là. Mais sur la préfecture, je dis, je sais, ils sont des tarés. Hein? Parce que toute l'administration, ils ne réfléchissent jamais. Je dis, j'ai 86 ans, je connais. Hein? Pas la peine de se battre avec eux.
Ok.
Enfin,
Bonne chance.
de toute façon, toute ma famille est en Argentine.
En Argentine? J'ai habité en Argentine 2 ans.
Et je suis né là-bas. Et on était 11 frères et sœurs. Et je suis partie à l'ambassade pour travailler 2 ans et demi à Paris. Jamais je voulais connaître les autres, c'est tout. Et j'ai connu Jacques en Italie, on ne s'est jamais quitté. J'ai plus de 50 ans. Quel malheur!
Et vous parlez encore l'espagnol?
Ah bah non. Je lui avais appris ma langue à lui pour qu'il parle avec ma mère.
Lui est argentin aussi? Ah, ok.
Ah oui. Moi, quand je vois les couples qui parlent des langues et que la seconde personne, l'autre, ne parle pas moi, je ne savais jamais marier avec quelqu'un comme ça.
Il n'y a pas de personnes qui parlent espagnol ici. C'est pour ça. Okay. Mais c'est un idioma muy lindo. Ok, merci madame.
Portez-vous bien, monsieur. Et que le monde est difficile.
Le monde est toujours. De temps en temps.
Et ça s'arrange pas.
Oh, that lady was adorable. Even after I turned the camera off, she kept coming over to talk to me. There's probably not a lot of people talking with her nowadays. Very interesting. Argentinian, both her and her husband. Been here, obviously, a very long time. Imagine all that they've seen, all the changes that they've witnessed in France over that time. Crazy. I actually just got stopped by a subscriber on the streets of Saint-Denis. He said he was originally from Tunisia. There you go. This is one of the last places I would have expected to have subscribers, but there you go. Got the Harlem Brunch coffee shop over here. You will find references to New York City all over the world. It really is the modern day Paris. It's the place everyone wants to be. Meanwhile, half the people in New York want to leave, but that's a different story. There go the cavalry. See, this is what I'm talking about. Even when it's the hood in France, it's still beautiful somehow. Don't know if it actually cuts down on drug dealing and violent assaults, but at least it looks nice. This is le Parc de la Légion d'honneur. I think it's the most notable thing in this neighborhood. Should be open. Ah, bonjour. Est-ce que c'est possible de visiter le parc?
Non, c'est fermé aujourd'hui, demain.
Juste aujourd'hui?
Oui, juste aujourd'hui, demain c'est
non,
ouvert.
Parce que j'ai juste aujourd'hui.
Ah ouais, c'est fermé aujourd'hui.
Qu'est-ce qui se passe ici?
Il y a pour les Jeux olympiques, ils font des installations.
Oh, ok. Il y aura une compétition?
Oui, il y aura beaucoup de choses.
Beaucoup de choses?
Ouais.
Oh, ok. Voilà. Merci, madame. Yeah. Olympics. Il est fermé? C'est fermé, la musée?
Ah, c'est ouvert.
C'est ouvert? Ok. All right, we found something in France that's still open. It's a bit of a random museum. You got a pair of sneakers. And over here you got a bunch of pots. I feel like they put this museum together like a couple of weeks before the Olympics started. But hey, at least it's open. Apparently, an exhibit on different body shapes. Madame, c'est un musée du sport?
Oui, c'est le musée et sport. Donc, vous passez par là.
Oh.
C'est archéologie. Ouvre la porte en face, vous rentrez.
Oui.
C'est archéologie. Vous continuez, après vous montez là-haut. Il y a
Ok.
l'escalier à la fin.
Ça, c'est autre partie.
Oui,
Ok.
c'est autre partie.
Merci.
Vous pouvez?
Huh. I think I've got this entire museum to myself. That's what happens when you come and venture into Saint-Denis. This actually is a legit museum up here. That's Paul Eluard, one of the founders of the Surrealist movement, a poet. I didn't actually know that, but I just looked it up. There's a piece here called La Planète sans visa, a world without visas. And apparently it was written for Leon Trotsky, who came to France after he had a falling out with Stalin. Trotsky was one of the founders of the Soviet Union, one of the most major figures in communism. The French didn't give him a visa, so he went on to Mexico, where he got assassinated. Meanwhile, you have these religious messages scattered all around the museum, probably from an earlier version of the museum. Si je vous ai lavé les pieds, moi qui suis votre Seigneur et votre Maître, vous devez aussi laver les pieds, les uns aux autres. It's talking about Jesus. Et ça fait partie de la musée aussi?
Oui, oui, ça fait partie.
Ah, ok. Ok.
C'est écran, c'est exposition sur la danse.
Sur la danse?
Ouais, sur l'Afrique de la danse. Il y a un écran dedans, vous pouvez rentrer allez.
Ok. That dude is really charged up about this museum. I don't quite see how this is about dancing. No. I think I need more MDMA for this. C'était intéressant. Il fallait danser tout seul.
Ah, oui, c'est ça. Excusez-moi.
Oui.
Où des États-Unis?
À New York.
New York.
Et tu as visité les États-Unis?
Non, pas encore. Une fois, je voulais y aller, mais là-bas, ils m'ont fait ça.
Oh, pourquoi? Ouais. Quand tu es né, tu n'avais pas la citoyenneté française?
Si.
Oh oui.
Je suis né ici, je suis né en France.
Et les Américains ont rejeté le visa?
Je suis arrivé là-bas, ils m'ont fait ça. En plus, j'ai pas menti, j'ai tout écrit dans...
Oui.
Tout, ils m'ont fait ça. Non.
Ah, ouais.
Interdit. Je lui dis, pourquoi interdit, ils m'ont fait ça? Interdit.
Wow.
Et là-bas, quand ils... ok, c'est bon.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Et pourtant, non, je suis né ici en France. Bon, quand après j'étais jeune, bon, j'ai fait des bêtises un peu ici.
Ouais.
Quand j'étais jeune, mais ça c'est quand j'étais jeune.
Ah.
Mais bon, eux ils m'ont dit non.
Ils sont compliqués avec ça.
Dommage, hein, parce que j'aurais bien voulu voir, j'aime bien moi.
Ah ouais?
Ouais, j'aime bien, dommage.
Tu devrais essayer encore une fois. Maintenant, il y a des vols très bon marché.
Ouais, c'est...
Comme $300, 300
Ouais, mais
euros.
ça m'a fait ça une fois. J'ai fait au moins 10 heures de... Après, ils m'ont dit demi-tour, encore... Ma tête, elle était comme ça, j'ai dit, ah, ça y est.
Ah, ok. Ah. Si tu es heureux, ça c'est l'important.
Merci.
Okay. Bonne journée, monsieur.
Merci à vous aussi, merci.
All right. I think that concludes our little trip to Saint-Denis. I feel like everything went fine. And at the very least, I could tell you if you come here, spend an afternoon, you won't die. Wouldn't recommend you go to the housing projects, les cités, as they call them here in France, but there you might have some problems. It's a dating app for Muslims. I mean, there's definitely a market here. Getting some lovely weather for the opening weekend of the Olympics here. You may have noticed that France, as they say in the parlance of our times, is very diverse. And in fact, it's the most diverse country in Europe. Now, there's a big reason for that. It's not just because of illegal immigration, which is something that all of Western Europe is dealing with at the moment. Many people have heard that Britain had the largest empire in history, spread across all the time zones of the world. What's a little less known, at least in the English-speaking world, is that the French had the second largest empire in history. At the same time as Britain was building its colonial empire, France was building theirs. And it covered many countries across the globe, most notably Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, which France actually made an actual part of France. They were in Asia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. They were in the South Pacific, places like Tahiti, French Polynesia. And they also controlled many places in Africa and the Caribbean, mainly in West Africa, places like Senegal. They had one of the two Congos, Madagascar. The French were everywhere. In all these places that France ruled, they tried to impose their language and their customs. They had to beat the British. They had to be the major power of the world. This was seriously a thing back then. The French and the British were competing with each other to have the most colonies. But as a result of that, French became one of the most spoken languages in the world, right up there with English and Spanish. And in fact, its numbers are only increasing as the population of Africa increases. And so, when migrants arrive from North Africa or Africa, they often speak French. And their first choice for where they're gonna go and try and find work or claim asylum, whether legit or not, is France. And this migration to France started earlier than any of the other European countries. It started all the way back in the 50s, even in the 40s. France needed workers to come over, help with reconstruction. Also, France just didn't have that many workers even before the war. So many came from North Africa, and their descendants still live in France today. Many in the banlieue, the suburbs surrounding the major cities. On top of that, France, unlike the other European powers, still holds on to a lot of its territories around the world. Granted, a lot of them are pretty small, but France has lands in places as random as South America with French Guyana. It's got Reunion Island off the coast of Africa. It's got French Polynesia in the South Pacific. It's even got one island in Canada for who the hell knows why. These people from the territories of France can freely move to mainland France. They can move to Paris, Marseille, kind of like how Puerto Ricans can move to the mainland USA. And so that's the no-nonsense, no bullshit reason for France's diversity. Has it been a smooth ride with integration? Most certainly not, but that's beyond the scope of this video. But if you're wondering why when you're watching the World Cup and almost all of France's team is of African descent, as well as the top, I think France had the #1 draft pick in the NBA for the past 2 years, which is crazy. There you go, that's the reason why. The Irish Cultural Center. The Irish. Best country in the world is what I want to say, but Ireland, you gotta find a way to fix that weather. There you have Le Panthéon. It's a very famous monument. I forget what the purpose of it is, but it is also my earliest memory in France. Almost 14 years ago, I came here on a short little summer study abroad. I think I only went to maybe one of the classes, spent the rest of the time drinking. But I'll tell you what, I still learned French. I just recall getting off the metro around here, being very confused, jet-lagged, and looking for the hostel I was supposed to be staying at. That hostel probably doesn't exist anymore. Now that was back before the time of smartphones. I mean, smartphones existed, but they hadn't been widely adopted yet. Nobody really used like Google Maps to get around. You actually had to talk to people. You had to ask questions. Maybe that's where I picked up these social skills that I have. Not a car on the street. Well, there's a garbage truck. The security is even more intense today, which makes sense. We're about to have the opening ceremony. It's also raining. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to get into this thing. I don't know if I have the right pass. So when I was reading about this online, it made it sound like it was going to be open to the public, it was going to be free. That justified all of this police presence blocking off half the city. But then I checked the ticketing app, and the cheapest one is 90 euros. They go all the way up to 2,700 euros, and they're all sold out. Don't see any scalpers either. Alright, couldn't make it to the river, but I ended up over here drinking with Brazilians instead. Americans gotta start doing this shit during international competitions. Ourselves here. That's not gonna happen. And here we have Malaysians who are almost American. Kind of like America. I didn't realize there were any French people here until this came on. All right, good afternoon. So, we didn't make it to the opening ceremony of the Olympics, didn't get to the river, but it also rained all night, and I heard it was pretty annoying to be there. I think we got the best option. Getting drunk at a bar and watching it on TV, just a few blocks from where it was taking place. Like the rain starts up again. One of the best things about Paris is you're just walking past so much history everywhere. Like that, right over there, inside that building somewhere, is the tomb of Napoleon. Napoleon, the man, the short king who created the largest land empire in Europe since the Romans. And just a bit farther beyond there is La Place de la Révolution. That is the place where Marie Antoinette was guillotined. France, in the 1790s, inspired by the American Revolution, kicked off their own revolution. Just, it was a lot more bloody, a little more violent. It is the excesses and the extremes of the French Revolution. A revolution where hundreds were put to the guillotine. Many rightfully so, but many also for questionable reasons. They were just political opponents. It was those extremes that eventually led to the rise of Napoleon. It's almost as if there's a lesson in that story somewhere. You go too far left or too far right. But hey, that's enough about guillotines. I hope I've shown by now that Paris, in spite of all the issues, is still a very beautiful city. And if you haven't visited at least once in your life, I think you're missing out. Airfare's gotten a bit cheaper. If you get the chance, fly over, watch out for pickpockets, and I think you'll have a great time. So that's it for today. I'm gonna wrap it up here. And I think what we'll do after this is we're gonna act like a Frenchman who has 2 months of paid vacation. We're gonna get out of Paris.
see what we can find. It's been fun. A plus.